Hi, everyone. I wanted to jump on today and share a little PR secret with you, especially if you have seen others who are landing national TV and speaking on the biggest stages and maybe even writing for the biggest publications. I want to tell you a little bit more about how that happens and pull back the curtain just a little bit. I posted about this earlier today on my personal profile, and I found out so many of you don't understand how some of these opportunities work. So I want to be able to share more of that with you. Hi, Jenny. So I was prompted to do this by a post that I saw recently where someone was talking about being on national television. And I looked into it a little bit further to find that this opportunity that was on a major national network, or at least in the post was discussed about being on a major national network, was really what we call a pay to play opportunity. So if you're not familiar with that, there are opportunities out there both in local TV and national TV that we call pay to play, meaning that you pay to be on the show. You're essentially an advertiser, but they're going to make the show look as if you are a normal guest. And I think it's important for you to know that sometimes happens, so that when you see someone, maybe it's someone in your niche, it's a competitor, or someone that you're kind of keeping an eye on and watching, I want you to know that those are not what we consider earned media. So earned media would be something where you were invited to be a guest on the show, or maybe you had a publicist, someone like me, pitch you to be on the show, and you're on because that show, the host, the reporter, feels like you can add value to the show, and they want you to come on and talk about a topic because you're the expert on the topic. And my issue with pay to play is that it doesn't always mean the person is an expert. Now, sometimes they are. I've had, friends and former clients and current clients, and I've worked with people who have in the past paid to be on TV, or, spoiler alert, it happens on radio too, and I'll talk about that in a minute. Who have paid for those opportunities, who legitimately were experts. And so when I started working with them, I wanted them to stop paying because there are free opportunities that are out there. You just have to know which shows to pitch. Usually shows do one or the other. They either have all expert guests on who they're selecting based solely on their expertise, or every guest on the show is a pay-to-play opportunity. Generally speaking, the more someone talks about their business and about their product, the more likely it is that it's pay-to-play. An expert's usually going to come on and teach you something, and it's going to be far more about the subject they're teaching, the thing that they're bringing to your awareness, than it is about their specific product or service. That's not a hard and fast rule, but when I'm watching shows and evaluating who to pitch my clients to, and it's in a market maybe that I don't normally work in, that's one of the cues I'm looking for before I reach out to the station. Now, with most newscasts, so your local ABC, CBS, NBC affiliate, Fox, whoever it is, on the news shows that come on, early morning, lunchtime, nighttime, generally speaking, the experts on those shows are not paying to be there. They are experts that are being featured and being interviewed because they are genuine experts in their space. Now, sometimes the producer or the host is going to have reached out and asked them to come on. Sometimes they're going to have pitched themselves or have a PR person who's pitching on their behalf. Shows that come on, I would say 10 a.m. to noon. Well, really, 10 a.m. until whenever your kind of lunchtime news starts in your city. Some cities it's 11, 11:30, 12. Whatever's on from 10 until that like midday news show, and then whatever's on from the time that news show ends at, say 1 o'clock till the nighttime news starts. Shows in those spots and shows on Saturdays and Sundays quite often are pay to play, although not always. So there's no like hard and fast rule. I can't tell you, if a show's on at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, you're gonna have to pay to be on it. It's not always how that works, but just some kind of cues I look for when I'm looking at shows to put my clients on. You may also have people who reach out to you and make it sound like they want to have you on the show because they think you're an expert and they so value your area of expertise and what you can come on and talk about. And then as you get into your conversation with them about coming on the show, they send you a package that talks about what you're going to pay and what you're going to get for that. You're going to get like a copy of yourself on the show, and you're going to get to have a link on the website. And, you know, maybe you're going to have, I'm trying to think some of the other things that get offered. Sometimes you get the video post-produced so that you can use it on your own sites. If there's a celebrity on the show, maybe you're going to get a shout out from them. So as an example, I had a client, I think it happened last year, and Kathy Ireland's show reached out. My client had a skincare product, and Kathy Ireland's show reached out about having her on, and we were all excited. They had seen an article she had been mentioned in. It was super exciting that they were interested in having her on, and then they sent us the sales package. And I can't remember how much that particular opportunity was, but I've had that happen a number of times over the years. And the opportunities can range from like a couple of $100s for like a small local show to $20,000, $25,000, $30,000 for a big national show. So there's a big range in what you pay to be on a show like that. I'm just reading through the comments to make sure I'm answering questions. Okay, so just an FYI that happens, but that there are plenty of opportunities out there to be on shows without having to pay. But if you get in a conversation about being on a show and they come back and they start wanting to charge you money, don't be surprised. It happens. It's unfortunate, but I also want you to be aware of it so that when you see other people talking about being on shows, you maybe ask questions, particularly if that person is working in a PR or marketing space and they're making it sound like they get their clients on these, like, you know, big major networks, and, you know, they've got all these opportunities for them. I'm just telling you to ask the question, okay? I don't care whether you work with me or you work with somebody else, but when you're interviewing someone and you're gonna hire them to be your publicist, to do PR or marketing work for you, one of the questions I would ask when you're interviewing them is, are you going to present me with opportunities that are pay to play? Now, occasionally we pitch for something that we don't think is pay to play, but it ends up being, and maybe it's something the client identified, hey, I really want to be on this show, or I really want to write for this site, really want to be on this radio show or podcast. And then when we pitch, we find out it's pay to play. I always send that to my client so that they're aware that that was a pay to play opportunity, but I also always tell them that I don't recommend they do it. I don't think I've ever recommended for a client to pay cash to be on a show. I think you've got to weigh a lot of different aspects. Maybe there's an opportunity out there that makes sense, but you got to really think about what your return on that investment is going to be. And I don't want to get too deep into that, but most of the people I've talked to who have done pay to play in the TV or the radio or the podcast space or even the speaking space. Okay, sometimes when someone's speaking on a really big stage, you assume they're getting paid to speak there, but actually they are paying to speak there. Another good example is Forbes Coaches Council. I've done a video on it before, maybe some of you have seen, but Forbes Coaches Council is not the same thing as Forbes. Forbes has contributors who they pay to write for the site. I am one of those contributors. But Forbes Coaches Council, the people that are part of that pay to be part of Forbes Coaches Council. That guarantees them a certain number of pieces a year, I believe. They also get access to some other sort of member benefits. You know, you can look that up and see what all the benefits are to being a Forbes Coaches Council member, but just be aware that is a pay-to-play opportunity, and those pieces are not indexed on the main Forbes site. So if you write about entrepreneurship, it doesn't appear in the entrepreneurship vertical on Forbes.com. It appears just on the Forbes Coaches Council vertical. So just something to keep in mind. And I really felt like I needed to do this video because after posting on my personal profile about this earlier this morning, I just realized that those of you who don't work in PR and haven't been around it maybe don't realize how many of these opportunities are pay to play. Now, there are plenty of free opportunities out there, so I encourage you to put yourself out there and still try to get the TV appearances and the radio interviews and the podcast interviews and speaking gigs, because there's plenty of it that's free or even pays you. Like I was saying, I get paid to write for Forbes. So certainly there's opportunities out there that aren't, but I want you to be aware that some of the opportunities are. And a number of people have been entering the PR and marketing space in recent years who haven't been doing it, let's just say, the traditional way. And it is all about pay to play opportunities, or even quite frankly, going so far as to pay off writers to write about their clients, which, by the way, isn't allowed by the rules of any publication, and a lot of writers have gotten let go, I'd say, over the last year or so, as that has come more to the attention of outlets. And let me guarantee you, the outlets are paying attention to that and watching. I recently turned in my client list to Forbes. So just ask the questions. I encourage you, interview multiple people if you're thinking about hiring someone for PR. This is not saying I'm the only one who does it right. Come to me. As a matter of fact, I don't think she's watching it right now, but my friend Christina Nicholson, fabulous PR person. I've got a whole list of people I can tell you to interview who are fabulous and do everything the right way and who would be fantastic for you or your business. But when you're interviewing people, I want to make sure you're asking the right questions. And an important question to ask is, if you've seen them talking about getting a client featured here or there, or they've been on this TV show or whatever, ask questions about it and specifically ask, did they pay for that opportunity? Okay, because people probably, though there are people out there who aren't going to just disclose that to you. You're going to have to ask the specific question. And I just think that that's something you should know before you enter into a business arrangement like that. So if you guys have got any other questions, get them in. I'm just going to reiterate a few things. I talked a lot about TV because that happened to be what I saw recently. It was someone talking about being on a national television network. And then when I looked up the show, it's like not really on the main network, and it is a pay-to-play opportunity run by a marketing agency. The marketing agency actually owns the show, and that led me to want to explain this all to you, but we see it in radio where people pay for airtime. Now, that being said, my husband works in radio. You may have seen him do some videos with me before. A lot of the people you hear on the radio with daily shows are paying for their airtime. That's actually pretty common in the radio space, particularly when you get out of the top markets. But usually in return, you receive the airtime where the advertising spots would go, and you can go sell to advertisers, and then you get to keep that money. So a lot of people are paying to be on the air, but really they're making money because they're selling the ads for their show. So radio gets a little complicated in that sense. Some podcasts are starting to charge you to come on. EO Fire earlier this year announced that they were going to start charging you to be a guest. It's $5,000 for that appearance. That one I do know off the top of my head. So we're seeing more of these pay-to-play opportunities pop up, particularly ones for shows that are run by PR or marketing or advertising agencies. So I just want you all to be aware of that, especially if you're seeing other people and they're getting opportunities and you're thinking, how did they get that? Like, why am I not getting that stuff? Maybe they paid for it. So I just want you to be aware of that and be a more educated consumer and business person. If you've got any questions at all, leave those in the comments. Even if you're watching the replay, leave me a comment and I will be happy to come back and answer any of your questions later. I hope everyone has a fantastic rest of the day. Thank you for those of you who joined me live, Jenny and Steven. I know you were here, and Stephanie. Have a wonderful rest of the day. Bye, guys.